Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats and remain seated. The main event is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats and remain seated throughout the duration of tonight's live broadcast.
In the world of college basketball, there are those whose achievements and dedication cast an enduring imprint on the heart and soul of the sport. From buzzer-beating shots that leave us on the edge of our seats to strategic masterminds guiding their teams to victory from the sidelines, it's the brilliance of the players, the guidance of the coaches, and the wisdom of the mentors that embody the passion and spirit of college basketball. Tonight, the NABC Foundation is proud to present the 18th Annual National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame Induction Celebration. The class of 2023 features 5 inspiring individuals who collectively won championships, shattered records, and left a legacy that resonates across all levels of the sport. One of Duke University's most decorated and prolific players, Johnny Dawkins. A North Carolina star who reset the ACC record books, Tyler Hansbrough. Jefferson's famous shot doctor and the winningest coach in Division II history, Herb McGee. College basketball's trusted talent scout and author of the High School Basketball Insider, the late Tom Konchalski. The winningest coach in NCAA history and the first Division I men's coach to reach 1,000 wins, Mike Krzyzewski. This is the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame Class of 2023. And now, please welcome your host for tonight's induction show, ESPN analyst Sean Farnham.
Good evening, everybody. What a night to be here in Chicago. Welcome to the 2023 National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame. What a venue we are at tonight. And it makes sense to have a class as elite and as legendary as this group that we're inducting tonight to be here in the big city of Chicago, that great feel of being here. Now, for some of you may not realize this, I know Coach Craig Robinson was talking about this earlier, this event is usually held in Kansas City. But we felt with all the conference realignment going on in sports, why not move this event to Chicago and just disrupt the overall flow of the Hall of Fame ceremony. So hopefully tonight it'll be smooth, just like seeing that UCF logo with the Big 12 right next to it, because when I think of the Midwest, I think of Central Florida. Now, I was told earlier tonight that, Craig Robinson said I was funny. And Mike Montgomery is sitting at my table and he said, Sean, I've known you for a long time. You're not funny. And I said, that's true. And I said, well, Coach, I can try to be funny or I can keep it short. I can't do both, because if I do both, I'm going to deviate and it's going to be awful. He said, keep it short. So we're going to keep it short and keep it moving forward here tonight. First things first, as we celebrate the legendary accomplishments of this Hall of Fame class, I would like to pause. Anybody that is a head coach, Division I, Division II, Division III, currently, please, if you could stand up, because you are the current stewards of our game, and we want to give you a round of applause. Coach Dawkins, you didn't have to stand up. We're going to honor you in just a little bit. I mean, how much attention does one person need tonight? Unbelievable. As I mentioned, it's crazy how much the sports landscape has changed. The Pac-12, in case you missed it, is now a part of the Atlantic Coast, the Big Ten. They're going to be everywhere. They're everywhere except for the West Coast. The West Coast is no longer part of the West Coast, and I feel for people like Bill Walton. I mean, come on, let's think about Bill Walton and his broadcast of the game. Who's going to get the moniker of the Conference of Champions or no truck stops here? Because none of that really works anymore for poor Bill. But he'll find his way. He'll be riding his bike out in San Diego doing great things. I saw him last week. He's doing great. Tonight, though, is full of champions. And it should come no surprise when you think about the game of college basketball that we all love so much, that one of those comes down to the traditional rivalry between North Carolina and Duke. And we're celebrating that rivalry tonight with representations from both of those great, fine institutions. 3 inductees have lived it as players and as coaches. It brings out the best in the competition, which is what we love so much about college athletics, is the best. So I would like anybody that has ever worn either uniform, that understands what that rivalry is about, to stand up. Coach Dawkins, you can stand up again for this one too, by the way. But I'd love for you to stand up right now and have all of them here to have that great rivalry. Shay, stand up, come on. Yeah, Tyler, you're supposed to stand up for that too. Come on, Tyler. It's a great rivalry that means so very much to our game. And it's an essential part of our sport. And it's as we change and the landscape evolves and changes, hopefully traditional rivalries will still be able to come back. If not, you can tune in every Saturday to College Game Day and hear Jay Billis's thoughts on it. He'll be happy to provide those for you, Jay. It's great to see you. You think about tonight, and I think one of the things that's most important, and John Shire here, Tommy Amaker, Roy Williams, and you see these great names of people that we know. This class really encompasses everything that makes college basketball so sensational because it goes throughout. It has those that played the game, those that taught the game, those that scouted the game, and helped elevate everybody around them. We have two coaches here that are the winningest coaches at their respective levels of college basketball. That's amazing. So without further ado, and keeping my promise to Coach Mike Montgomery, we're going to keep this thing rolling. I promise, Coach. I didn't go to Stanford. I couldn't get in, and you didn't want me. So that's the two problems. Probably the second one was probably more important than the first one, to be honest with you. All right, but we're going to get this show started here tonight. And our first inductee is a legend of the game because he had an incredible eye for talent. He found that talent, and he helped thousands upon thousands of young men live out their dreams as college basketball players.
Take a look on the shelves of any college basketball coach, and you'd be hard-pressed not to find a copy of the High School Basketball Insider. Serving as an essential reference book and guide, this renowned newsletter provided in-depth reports, rankings, and scouting details on players at all levels of the sport. From Kenny Anderson to Kyrie Irving and beyond, these early glimmers of greatness were illuminated and magnified thanks to the work of the late and legendary talent scout, Tom Konchalski. Known for his unassuming demeanor and encyclopedic knowledge of players, Konchalski gained widespread recognition as a trusted authority in the basketball community. For nearly 43 years, he was a regular fixture in gyms, summer camps, and tournaments nationwide, assessing young players in great detail. Konchalski played a pivotal role in the management of the prestigious five-star basketball camp. It was here where several would-be stars began their ascent to greatness, including Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Stephen Curry, among others. Konchalski's discerning eye for potential saw him recognize greatness in these emerging icons, further solidifying his reputation as a visionary and trusted talent scout. Tragically, Konchalski passed away in 2021 after a courageous battle with cancer, leaving behind a well-earned legacy across the world of college basketball. His impact on the sport and the lives of aspiring athletes will be remembered for years to come.
At this time, we're going to bring up his brother, Steve, that is representing the family here tonight. Steve, by the way, the Coach K of Canada, I was told earlier today. You take a seat here, Steve.
Yep.
So, Steve, basketball obviously so important in your life, but also, obviously in your brother's life. What was it about Tom that you'd want everybody to know about your brother and what this honor would mean to him?
Well, I think the first thing is what really motivated Tom was his faith, his religious faith. And he felt that he was carrying out his mission in life by helping young men, and ultimately, because he helped those young men, he was helping many of you out here today, college coaches, in doing their job. But he treated whether it was a D3 player or a top 10 player in the country, he treated them the same. He would not evaluate a player unless he saw that player with his own eyes. And during a game, he would sit up in the top row and evaluate players. He would focus in on, I think there was 8 or 10 categories, and he wouldn't talk to, no matter who was in the gym, he wouldn't talk to people while he was doing his job because he felt he was cheating the young men that he was evaluating. So I think that's really what Tom was all about. The same thing would hold true with coaches, and I can vouch for that myself. I coached in Canada for 46 years, and he would send players up to me that were maybe, they weren't top 10 players in the United States, I can tell you that. And he would care about them just as much as he would, like I say, the five-star player. And the same thing with coaches. He would put that effort into getting to know the players. He evaluated players not just by their physical skills, but he projected, and this is I think what differentiated him from most talent scouts in those days. He projected where they were going to be 2 years, 3 years down the road. And he evaluated not only their abilities on the court, but in terms of their attitude, their work ethic, and he found these things out by, I know, trying to leave a gym with Tom Konchalski was not that easy a chore. You were basically, the games were over, and I'd say, Tom, let's go, and he'd say, oh, I got to say hello to this person, I got to say hello to this person, and he'd be another hour before he left the gym, and what he was doing was being himself and enjoying the camaraderie of the game of basketball, but he was also finding out, and in doing so, information about these players that went well beyond their physical skills.
He had some great lines when he would evaluate players. A couple of my favorites was, he scores like we breathe. He's a mountain masquerading as a man. He has a body of a blacksmith and a touch of a surgeon. What was one of your favorite? Any of those resonate with you, or was there one that he shared with you that you loved most?
Well, he was evaluating an Egyptian player at one time, and he said most recruited players or most highly regarded players since Cleopatra. I thought that was a pretty good one.
He had a wit about him. He also, by the way, didn't like technology all that much. As we saw in the video, using the typewriter, there was no computer, there was no... What was his aversion to modern technology?
He basically stopped all that in the 60s. He typed out every one of his reports and would take them down to the printer, get them printed, stuff each envelope, and he would write out the coaches. And some of these, at his prime, he probably had 300 plus, clients, schools across the country. He would write each one out. And I said, Tom, why do you write? Why don't you get labels? Why do you have to write this out? He said, well, one time last year, I used a label, and the label fell off, and the school didn't get it on time. So he was meticulous in terms of of that type of thing. And in those days, there was no YouTube, there was no all these social media platforms, and the coaches relied on him, on his word, because they knew his word was was gospel. He was not only evaluating a player, he was trying to make sure that player had the right match of school, where he would do well on the basketball court, but as well fit in socially and academically.
You mentioned, obviously, yourself, a longtime coach in Canada, very successful. The love of basketball for your family. Where did it come from for you and your brother Tom?
Well, a couple of years ago, there was an article, and they quoted Coach K, and he said, well, there must have been something in their baby formula. So I don't think that's what it was. I think basically we grew up in an age in the late 50s, early 60s in New York City, where we both attended Archbishop Molloy High School. And when I walked into the halls of Archbishop Molloy High School as a freshman in 1958, and Tom followed me 2 years later, Archbishop Molloy were the national Catholic champions. They had a 48-game winning streak. Lou Conaseca, Hall of Fame coach himself, had been the coach the previous year. Jack Curran, who is a Hall of Fame coach in his own right, had just taken over the program, and we were mesmerized by the whole atmosphere at Archbishop Malloy, and both of us just fell in love with the game. We'd go to Madison Square Garden, watch double headers, triple headers. I remember watching Oscar Robertson score 50 points in the Holiday Festival, Bill Bradley, Jerry West, and that developed our love of the game. And just to think of the fact that when we were 13 and 14 years old, idolizing all these players, that someday Tom would be recognized in their category, at their level. It just goes to show you that dreams. If you dream and if you treat people right, and work hard and do it for the right reasons, you can achieve greatness.
Steve, thank you so much on speaking on behalf of your brother and your entire family. Congratulations to the Konchalski family, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Our next inductee has devoted over 5 decades of coaching, leading, and being a true shot doctor.
Throughout a remarkable 54-year coaching career, Herb Magee dedicated himself entirely to Division II Thomas Jefferson University, formerly known as Philadelphia College of Textiles and Science and Philadelphia University. With an astounding 1,144 victories under his belt, Magee holds the distinction of being the winningest coach in Division II history, boasting a record that stands second among all NCAA divisions. As a dedicated instructor and coach, Magee cracked the code on the art of shooting. His focus on precision, repetition, and discipline in refining shooting techniques earned him the nickname the Shot Doctor, a fitting moniker for this renowned mentor. But Magee's basketball journey began long before his coaching days. As a player for the Philadelphia Rams, he filled up the stat sheet, amassing a remarkable 2,235 career points. During the 1961-62 season, his scoring prowess reached new heights, setting a school record with an impressive average of 29.1 points per game. Magee was selected by the Boston Celtics in the 1963 NBA Draft. However, he opted to begin his coaching career as an assistant at his alma mater, Jefferson. Magee's leadership catapulted Jefferson to an incredible 31 NCAA tournament appearances, highlighted by the ultimate triumph of claiming the 1970 national title. Throughout the years, his teams displayed unwavering excellence, securing 13 conference championships and enjoying a stellar streak of 24 consecutive winning seasons, spanning from 1997 to his well-earned retirement in 2022.
Coach Magee joins me here now on stage. And Coach, what was it about Jefferson that was so special for you and so impactful in your life?
Well, it wasn't Jefferson at the time. It was called Philadelphia Textile. And I was recruited out of West Philly. I went to West Catholic High School, and I was recruited there. And it was a very small school, but a man by the name of Bucky Harris was the head coach. And he took me in like I was his son and treated me that way. And he told me when he recruited me, he said, Herb, if you ever pass up a shot, you're coming out of the game. And I loved that guy for that. So, and when I graduated, they named me the assistant coach, and then 4 years later, I took his job as the head coach. And then the school was named Philadelphia University, and in the past few years, it's been called Thomas Jefferson.
When you look at basketball in Philadelphia, for maybe people that don't understand how important basketball is in Philadelphia, what was it like for you being part of that city? We saw Jay Wright talk about it earlier before we started dinner tonight on the video that played. What specifically about Philadelphia and being part of that region and the importance of college basketball?
Well, you know, the development of the Big Five. And I always tell people that, especially Jack Ramsey, God bless him, when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame in Naismith Hall of Fame in Springfield, Jack was my presenter. And I said to him then, I said, Jack, you know, if you had recruited me, I would have gone to St. Joe's. He said, well, I know that, Herb. I said, you know what, if I had gone to St. Joe's, Jack, I might have been the coach at St. Joe's. He said, yeah, you're right, Herb, but not for 45 years. There's no way about it. So Philadelphia basketball has always been, you know, since the development of the Big Five, and anybody that's ever been to the Palestra, that's the place that you want to be. Yeah. So, and we had many occasions to play down there when I was coaching textile. So it was a big thrill.
You've been called the shot doctor, as again mentioned, the perfection of the shot. What was it about the shot and the way that you taught it that allowed you to get that nickname of being the shot doctor?
Well, the only way I was going to be a successful basketball player at West Catholic High School was to make my name as a shooter. We had a guy named Jim Lynham as my backcourt mate, and we've been best friends since then. As a matter of fact, he coached Johnny Dawkins when he was coaching the 76ers. But the way I worked my way into the game of basketball was work on my shot. And then when I graduated, went to textile, same thing, scored a lot of points. And then I developed my shot and teaching of the shot because I had to make some money because they don't pay very well at that school. So during the summer, I'd speak at 50, 60 basketball camps, and that was my act. I was a shooter. I went and taught shooting at various camps and then became the shot doctor by somebody's name. And then I started working with some NBA guys, and the word just kept going around. So if someone's going to have me speak, they don't even ask me to speak and pick a topic. They know it's going to be about shooting.
I mentioned in the video as well that you were drafted by the Celtics. You chose not to go with the Celtics, which to a lot of people now would be like, wait, hold on, what? You turned down the NBA. What went into that decision for you, and why did you not go that way?
Well, there's a story behind it because I was drafted, the last guy taken in the second round, but there was only like 10 or 12 teams in the league at that time. And it was a big thrill for me and a big thing on campus that, you know, Herb McGee was drafted by the Celtics. So I was going to go to the workout, and I broke 2 fingers on this hand. And if I'm going up there without my shot, I got no chance. So that's been my excuse all these years. But the real reason was a few names: Bob Cousy, Bill Sharman, Sam Jones, Casey Jones, and John Havlicek.
Pretty good.
And I remember when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, all their plaques were there too. So at the time, I was telling somebody today, they said, well, don't you regret not trying out? Well, I was offered a job as an assistant coach and would have been the same money, it's hard to believe, the same money, which was $5,000, the same money I would have made as a rookie with the Boston Celtics. Can you believe that? Now, if you make a team up there, you're making millions. So it would have been a different story back then, Sean.
All those years of coaching, all those great wins, what was it philosophically for you that you think were the core values of your program and what led to your success?
Well, I think the relationship you develop with your players is the number one thing that permeates through a successful program. I'm sure any coach in here would agree with that. And one of the big things I've always felt is that instead of being a great player, if you're a great teammate, then you got a leg up on all the other teams you're going to play. So that, plus my dedication to defensive strategy, offensive strategy, and just period strategy in general, led us to recruit. And of course, I knew Tom Konchowski because I would get a hold of him and ask him who's available on our level, and he would tell me. So it's, you know, if you do your homework, you got a good place to go, and you've done a good job with the kids that you have, and you can recruit. There's no question about it.
Oh, tell me the significance of this honor tonight and being here and being part of this class. What does this mean to you?
When I was inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame in 2011, that was the biggest highlight that anybody can have. But this is my sport. That's basketball, but that's everybody. This is college basketball. And this is the way I spent my life in the game of college basketball. And then if you look at this class, you have the #1 coach of all time with wins in Coach K. And I'm a little disappointed because he beat me. And then Johnny Dawkins, Tyler Hansbrough, myself, and I thought Steve did a great job talking about his brother. Yeah. So, that's, what more do you want? This is the epitome of a high honor. And then I have my whole family here, so what more do you want?
Absolutely nothing. Everybody, let's give a round of applause
Thank you,
for
folks.
Coach McGee.
Thanks, Ron.
A couple of words that come to mind for our next inductee. Heart, grit, toughness, consistency every single time he took the floor, and maybe most of all, an absolute warrior. Those are just a couple of words that I would use to describe a guy that left his impact on the game in one of the finest programs in all of college basketball.
From the moment he stepped foot on the North Carolina campus, Tyler Hansbrough was breaking records and taking names, leading the Tar Heels to nearly unprecedented success from 2005 to 2009. The tenacious power forward's phenomenal career began with nothing short of a bang. In the 2005-2006 season, Hansbrough quickly solidified his place in ACC history, becoming the conference's first player to win first-team All-America honors as a freshman, and the first freshman in league history to earn unanimous first-team All-ACC honors. It only got more impressive from there. Hansbrough's next years would continue to solidify his legacy as he collected numerous awards and set multiple ACC records. He was a consensus National Player of the Year in the 2007-8 season, where he led UNC to the Final Four. In his senior year, Hansbrough brought the team back to the Final Four, where they would cut down the nets as national champions. A three-time consensus All-American, Hansbrough finished his trailblazing stint as a Tar Heel with a league record 2,872 points and a school record 1,219 rebounds, becoming the only ACC player ever to lead his team in scoring and rebounding in 4 seasons. Following Carolina's national title, Hansbrough became the 13th overall pick by the Indiana Pacers in the 2009 NBA Draft and played 7 NBA seasons with intensity, tenacity, and relentless grit. Hansbrough's legacy as an unsurmountable force on the court has rightfully earned him the title of Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I mentioned some of those words that I would use to describe you watching you play, but you wore that uniform at North Carolina, and now you're the 12th Hall of Fame member for the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame that has come from that program. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it's a high honor being part of, for me, going to UNC was probably the smartest decision I've made in my life so far, to be surrounded by Coach Williams and his staff, great teammates, and then legendary players that came back like Sean May, Marvin Williams, those guys in the summer. They used to come back, train with us, beat us up and pick up, and a lot of that success has to do with those guys as well.
Your motor, I think maybe stood out as much as the stats did. I mean, the stats speak for themselves, but how hard you competed every single game. Where did that come from? Was that something innate that you had your entire life, or was it cultivated as you grew and loved the game?
It's probably from my 2 brothers sitting right there. I mean, we competed at everything. If it's not basketball, it's pickleball. But, it's just, that's the way we did from my hometown, from a small town in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. And we're hardworking and we're competitive. And so I think it's a representation of our community.
You mentioned Coach Williams. What was it like playing for a Hall of Fame coach?
It was great. And, I think the great thing about playing for Coach Williams is the way he prepared. And every single day, there was no secret formula. We came in, we worked, and I think the preparation and the small things, I still get nervous about being late to events because you're never late with Coach Williams. And so things like that, being honest, showing up on time, being respectful, all that, and working hard, all that is very prevalent when you play for Coach Williams. So it's something that, I try to carry with me as well.
When you came to Carolina, could you ever have envisioned how it would have played out in your time at Chapel Hill and then to be here tonight and become a Hall of Fame member?
No, I really couldn't. I just knew when I went to Carolina as a small town kid, I was just going to try hard, work hard, and see what happens. And I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of people part of my success in my career, and so I'm very thankful. But, I put a lot into it, and it was a lot of hard work to get here. So I'm very excited to be in the Hall of Fame with everybody else and very honored.
This is the portion of the program where we get into the rivalry between Duke and Carolina. What was it like? How would you describe it to those that didn't get to wear the uniform and be out on the court for that rivalry? What was those matchups like, whether it was in the regular season or in the ACC tournament?
Everyone always tries to say it's just another game, but it's not. I mean, what Coach K built for Duke and then North Carolina, the rivalry, your classmates, everybody gets worked up for it on campus. It's almost like you can't escape it. You just watch TV, you see the commercials. And then growing up, it's a game that I used to get excited about as a kid. And so to play in it, I was super excited. I mean, I was pumped. And by the time, it was ready for tip-off, I was kind of exhausted from preparing and being so excited that I was just ready to get it over with.
Well, almost 2,900 points over the course of your career, an ACC record that, given the climate of today's college athletics, that's not getting beat anytime soon. It's going to take an incredible individual to actually stick around long enough to try to break that record. What does it mean to be the all-time leading scorer in the ACC with all the legendary players that have played in that conference?
It's a high honor, and most people today think you probably have to shoot a lot of threes. I wasn't a three-point shooter, so I kind of did it the old-fashioned way: is play inside and make your free throws. I mean, there was, that was kind of my formula. But it's a high honor because I think the ACC, there's no better basketball tradition out there or better players than any other conference out there. So I take a lot of pride in that. Anybody
Specifically you want to thank before we say goodbye to you?
Yeah, I want to thank my family, everybody in my community. Like I said, I'm from a small town, and growing up in a small town, there's a lot of people who have been a part of my success. So hopefully when they see my name in the Hall of Fame, they can feel like they've been a big part of my accomplishments as well, because they have. One of the toughest college basketball players ever, ladies and gentlemen, Tyler Hansbrough. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Congratulations. That concludes the North Carolina portion of tonight's program. We now travel the virtual 9 miles that it takes to go from Chapel Hill to Durham. And our next inductee was a catalyst in elevating the Duke men's basketball program to a whole nother level. And everything else was built because of his run.
Duke's ascension to legendary status couldn't have happened without one of its most decorated players, Johnny Dawkins. Born and raised in Washington, D.C., Dawkins' exceptional athleticism and undeniable talent brought him to Duke from 1982 to 1986, where his 2,556 career points set a school record that would stand until 2006. During Dawkins' fiery senior year, the Blue Devils achieved a win-loss record of 37-3, an unprecedented NCAA record for both games played and games won in a single season. The fierce point guard led Duke to numerous ACC regular season and tournament titles, as well as an appearance in the 1986 NCAA National Championship game. With an exceptional average of 20.2 points per game in his senior season, Dawkins' star power on the court earned him a number of recognitions and awards, including becoming a 2-time consensus All-American, a 4-time All-ACC selection, and the Naismith National Player of the Year in 1986. Dawkins was selected by the San Antonio Spurs with the 10th overall pick in the 1986 NBA Draft, and later played for the Philadelphia 76ers and Detroit Pistons Pistons over the span of a 9-year NBA career, later achieving coaching success at Stanford University and his current post at UCF. Dawkins' passion, leadership, and exceptional skill helped carve both Duke's name and his own in the tome of college basketball champions.
Coach Dawkins, I'll call you Coach because when I work with you now, I call you Coach all the time. So we'll stick with Coach throughout the whole entire thing here. But Coach, tell me what it means for you to be part of this class, especially on a night where your coach is also getting inducted.
Well, Sean, I'm humbled, grateful for this honor, especially to be here with Coach, who means the world to me. So this is a great opportunity, and I've been enjoying it the whole evening. It's been a great celebration with a lot of friends and family, and just very excited to be here.
You and I were talking earlier today at lunch, and we were talking about your father, and whether to get a job or to play basketball and what the rule was in your house. Can you please share that story with everybody here?
No, absolutely. My dad had a lot of great things to say, and one of the things he said was, I was wanting to get a summer job. You know, I'm sure all of us in this room, the summer, you know, school, the fall's getting ready to start. You want to, you know, buy some school clothes, and I told my father, you know, I want to get a job, you know, for the summer. He said, no, you're not going to get a job. He said, you said you wanted to be a basketball player. You see, your mom and I, we work, you know, 9 to 5. We're going to continue to do that. You commit to working 9 to 5 like that on the basketball court. That'll be your job. The day you don't do that is the day you go out and you can go, you know, find a summer job for your school clothes. And so the rest is history.
You've never left the game since.
Never.
Coach, describe to me what it was like when you arrived at Duke and then helped elevate that program to that next level and to have the success that you had as a player when some of your teammates here tonight, obviously, but then to come back as an assistant coach and be part of it. What does it mean to be a college basketball player at Duke?
Well, it's a privilege to be a college basketball player at Duke University, especially under Coach K's leadership. It was an amazing experience. You know, when I went there, you didn't know what to expect. The program wasn't in the position that it's in now, and you were hopeful that you could, you know, get it there. And Coach, when we were having our meeting, and you know, he's recruiting me, he's talking about his vision for the program and his vision for me as a player. Of course, you know, great things for me, but for the program, amazing things as well, championship type of vision. And, you know, of course, I believed in him. You know, we had a great relationship, and, you know, I made that decision. But, you know, a lot of talk goes around about, you know, what I was able to do as a part of that program. But, you know, I like to say, you know, and some guys are in this room right now, you know, I see, you know, Jay Billis, I see Mark Allery, I see Coach Amaker. You know, no one gets where you are by yourself. You know, none of these men that came up here got here by themselves. The bottom line is, you know, it's a team game, and everyone has to, you know, make a huge contribution to be successful. You know, we were fortunate to have, you know, amazing roles in that program, but ultimately, I'm up here and those men are up here with me because without them, there's no me. And so Coach put together a great group of players. We had amazing chemistry. We played for each other. We fought for each other. And we made a difference. And I'm just happy that we were able to do that at that program.
How much of that has influenced your success now in the coaching ranks, whether it's at Stanford or whether it's at UCF, where you're currently at, as you guys make the transition to the Big 12, but how much of those experiences from Duke as a player, those teammates, those bonds, the championship won, to then being assistant coach now permeate through what you do on a daily?
Well, everything I do as a coach, you know, I measure it, you know, from my experiences at Duke as a player and as a coach, everything. And so I measured against that, which is a high standard. And so for me, you know, whether we're drilling in practice every day, I want that standard to be the highest. Whether we, you know, in the classroom, I want our standard to be the highest. I don't want players coming in just to get by. I want them to, you know, get a meaningful education. All the things I learned at Duke. And I mentioned Coach K, of course. Obviously, you know, what he's meant to me has been amazing. But also the University of Duke, you know, what they've done for me in my career and my life. Are you kidding me? You know, I think I've heard Jay Billis say this before, you know. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Just being a part of that program, a part of that institution has been amazing.
You know, these are challenging times in college basketball landscape as we see conference realignment. Your team's part of it, as I joked earlier. Central Florida is now in the Midwest. But the move to the Big 12 for you, what's your thoughts on realignment and the thoughts of your program now making a shift and going to the Big 12?
Well, realignment is here to stay, and you're going to find it where teams are going to be playing coast to coast. It's just the nature of where we're headed. I think you have to lean into it, embrace it, because it's not going anywhere. For us, I'm excited to be going into the Big 12. I know a lot of the coaches in that conference, and they're great, great coaches. I know a lot of the players that have been recruited in those conferences, and again, great players. But we're excited for the opportunity to compete and represent UCF in the best manner that we can. We think we have something special going on down there, and we want to continue to build on it.
Taylor Hendricks, of course, a lottery pick this year for you and your program as you're building it now. The game has been essential, though, into your life. What do you love most about the game of basketball?
Wow. What do I love most about the game of basketball? I like competing. And I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's on the playground. I don't care if it's a Duke Carolina rivalry. It doesn't matter. I want to compete. I've always done that as a player growing up. I've only known to play one way. I think growing up where I grew up in Washington, D.C., that's just how you're trained. And I was very fortunate to grow up in that area. And so for me, the competition drives me as a player, and it drives me equally as much as a coach.
Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Dawkins.
Yes. Thanks, softball.
Our final inductee of the night has more wins on the sideline than anybody that has ever stood there. Since the tournament expanded, originally obviously to 64, he has led his program to more Sweet 16s, more Elite Eights, more Final Fours, more national runner-ups, and has won as many titles as anybody in college basketball. Those are his numbers, and those might not even be the most impressive numbers that he was able to rack up over his legendary coaching career. He was a member of the founding class, and tonight he receives his National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame induction medal. He's Coach K.
There's a reason Chicago is known as the city of big shoulders. From humble high school courts to NBA arenas, you'll find no shortage of basketball legends who hail from the Windy City. But if there's one Chicago native whose name is synonymous with excellence in college basketball, it's none other than Mike Krzyzewski. Coach K, the winningest coach in NCAA history. Coach K brought greatness to the hardwood through a grit and determination that embodies the spirit of Chicago's towering heights. Krzyzewski's teams dominated the courts at every turn to the tune of 1,202 total victories. After beginning his head coaching career with 5 seasons at his alma mater, Army, Krzyzewski orchestrated a reign of excellence at Duke that spanned 4 decades and turned the Blue Devils into a household name. Leading with passion, dedication, and sheer love of the game, Coach K took home 12 National Coach of the Year awards, a testament to his unmatched leadership from the sidelines. It was under his skilled guidance that the Blue Devils claimed a staggering 5 national championships, 13 Final Four appearances, 15 ACC tournament championships, and 14 ACC regular season titles. But Coach K's impact extended beyond the college court. As head coach of the U.S. men's national team, Krzyzewski brought home 3 Olympic gold medals in 2008, 2012, and 2016, showcasing his exceptional talent on the global stage. Throughout his stellar journey, Krzyzewski's team spent a remarkable 127 weeks at the coveted #1 spot in the AP poll, solidifying his place among the game's greatest leaders. With 36 NCAA tournament bids and an incredible 101 March Madness victories, the record holder for the most tournament appearances and wins of all time has rightfully etched his name in college basketball history.
Coach, you've been in a couple Hall of Fames already. How does this, what does this honor mean to you specifically to be here tonight in this city to receive this honor?
Yeah, well, first of all, I wish that every college player today could listen to what Tyler and Johnny said tonight. You guys It's the way it should be. You earned everything, you worked hard, you never asked for anything, and you gave credit to everyone else except looking at it for yourself. So it's an honor to be with Herb, Tom, but it's really an honor. I knew it was going to be an honor, but after hearing the two of you speak, you guys were terrific. I hope your message goes out there. So what does it mean? It means I'm with those guys, and I didn't like being with that guy. We usually lost when we were against that guy, but we usually won when we were with that guy. So should have the two of you guys together. And I grew up about 3 miles from here, and my mom had an 8th grade education, and she's the best person in my life, and she was a cleaning lady in the Chicago Athletic Club. My dad went to 2 years of high school and was an elevator operator. He didn't go by the name of Krzyzewski. He went by the name of Cross because there was a lot of ethnic discrimination. He was afraid that he wouldn't get a job. So I can remember being in Columbus schoolyard and shooting and dreaming that I hope to be a coach one day, and I hope to be a college player. So what does it mean? You gotta be kidding me. You know, forget about dreams coming true. You know, this is like incredible for this to happen. And so I want to thank first of all my players, because Roy and I talk. Roy Williams and I are, just so you know, we're good friends. We don't send hate mail to one another. We don't kill each other on social media. You don't even know how to do social media, I know that. So, and but we have said all the time, Sean, that we are the luckiest guys in the world because we get to coach these 2 programs, and we're the luckiest guys in the world because these 2 programs have given us an opportunity to coach some of the greatest players in the history of this sport. So that's pretty good. That's really good, and that's why this Hall of Fame is so important, because the Naismith Hall of Fame encompasses. Herb made a lot of great points, but he made a great point in that this Hall of Fame honors our sport. Naismith honors the sport of basketball, men, women, pro, amateur, international. This is home. This is our home, men's college basketball. And so these guys, some of the guys who were great college players were good NBA players. And so what the Hall honors is your careers, your careers, and it serves as an example for the kids that are playing in Columbus Schoolyard or at Poplar Bluff or in DC, that, hey, Tyler did it, Johnny did it. The Naismith does it at a different level. This Hall of Fame is so very important to honor the game of men's college basketball, the greatest sporting event in sport. There's no sport that takes over a month of the year. Our sport does that. We even go into April. We're selfish as hell. We're like the guy, the coach who coached Herb. Shoot every shot you can get. So you might as well keep going.
You know, one of the things that in discussions I've had with you over the years when I've been lucky enough to cover your teams, when I first started at ESPN, we talked a lot about relationships and how you viewed each player individually and then collectively would bring them together to have success. How were you able to take so many players with so much talent, focus on the individual, and then collectively get them to have the success and the buy-in that you needed to have in order to have the successful career you did?
When we recruited a player, we looked at three things. They have to be talented, obviously, and they're all equal. They have to fit into our environment, Duke. And the third thing we look for is character. That's why Tom's reports when I was a young coach were so important, because he told you in depth about a young man, whether in what level, but what character he had. And so we were always looking for a really good player who was a good teammate. He really got excited about a teammate's success. He was always the best player. Did he look at his coach? Did he show a good attitude? We even, for a while, got teacher reports. But I always looked for the relationship a player had with his parents. And I'd say 2/3 of our guys had moms and fathers, but not all of them had fathers. All of them had mothers. And my mother was the best person in my life. And I'm not fooling around, I looked at the relationship a mom had with his mother. And Mrs. Dawkins is right here, and I would watch that. I knew that your husband was pretty hard on him, and which was good. That was good. But he loved you and he listened to you. I looked at Tommy, and Alma's not here tonight, but Jay, you guys, and they were respectful to their parents. So they came to us. We didn't recruit. We recruited talent with character, so it gave you a chance to have. We didn't recruit talented characters, all right? And like, if you're with good people, a number of the people the guys, every guy that's been up here has said, you don't do it alone, you do it with good people. And so we tried to recruit really good players who were good people, and they turned out to be, and I'm proud of all you guys, you turned out to be really great men and fathers, and you're still paying attention to your mother. So that's a good. And don't you, by the way, he's turning 60 years old. Roy, how did these guys get so old? I'm telling you. Yeah.
Coach, what was it about Duke that became the perfect fit for you when you left West Point and went to Duke?
Well, I don't know if it was a perfect fit right away, but we were 38 and 47 my first 3 years. But I love Duke. I've grown to really love Duke. I've grown to love the state of North Carolina. I think it's one of the really treasured states, areas. And but Duke reminded me a lot of West Point, but they're, one, it was national. It had great values, and it had good people. I would tell these guys when I recruited them, I said, you're going to play with other talent, but every day on this campus, every kid that you're with is going to be talented, and take advantage of it. And so I've loved being at Duke, but I've loved being in North Carolina. My family, that's our home, and it's the home of a couple of the greatest programs in any sport. To share this night with you guys from North Carolina and our guys from Duke, what a great night. What a great night, and to have so many North Carolina and Duke players and coaches in this Hall of Fame is a testimony to the excellence of both institutions, but also the excellence we brought out in one another. Talent makes talent better, and talent in competition makes talent better. And that's why the Duke Carolina, I always say Duke Carolina. I know you guys say Carolina Duke. The D comes before the N, just so you know. And but it's A lot of people don't realize it's the friendship that Roy and I have, but I can tell you, I didn't like Dean Smith when I was a young coach. He beat the hell out of us all the time, and you're not supposed to like anybody who does that. But I respected him, and then I got to know him, and we became great friends. And so this has been a cool thing, sharing this night in this manner.
You mentioned talent brings out talent. You were the head coach of the United States Olympic team. How did that experience maybe evolve or change even how you viewed the college game after working with Team USA?
Well, I loved it. We did it for 11 years, and Jerry Colangelo, who is a Chicagoan, he ran USA Basketball, and we built a good culture. And we did it because guys wanted to play for their country, and they owned it. My first meeting with all those guys, and it's a little bit intimidating. You're a college coach, and there's LeBron, Kobe, Carmelo, Dwayne, and all these guys. And the first thing I told them was that I said, "You're not playing for the United States." So they looked at me like, "You're an idiot." And but we always had a picture of the gold medal up, and I said, "We're not going to win the gold medal unless you are United States basketball. You have to own it. You have to feel it." And so we had a meeting. We set up standards of how we were going to live. And I told them to do one thing. I said, "I don't want you just to hear and see. I want you to feel." Tonight, and we always practice in Vegas, we were able to get more players on the team because of practicing in Las Vegas. And it's a little recruiting thing. We didn't have NIL at that time. So, and we did not allow a transfer portal. So that was good. And so I told them, I said, "When you go up to your rooms, I want you to be 16 for 1 minute. I know you're studs, zillionaires." And I said, "I want you to look on your beds." So we had laid their Olympic uniforms on their beds. So later that night, I was playing some video poker, and what the hell? Come on. Roy bets on golf, so just so. Tell me you don't. Tell me you don't. So we all have our little things, all right? So I'm playing, I get a tap on my shoulder, and it's Kobe Bryant. So I said, "What's up, Coach?" And he says, "Coach, I did what you asked me to do." And I said, "What happened?" He said, "I cried." And I knew, and that's what makes these guys great. They felt it, they loved it, they didn't want, and they weren't getting paid for the U.S. They needed to feel what it was to play for their country, and we were able to do that, and we developed some really good relationships.
Coach, you talk about family with your players, but you also have your family.
Yeah.
What has your family meant in their sacrifices that they made to allow you to embark on this incredible journey that you were on?
Yeah, well, I have a great family. My oldest daughter, Debbie, is in the audience, and I have 3 daughters. And my wife and I got married on graduation day when I graduated from West Point. So we've been married 54 years. And so will you repeat this and take a video of your mother and see if she clapped? All right. Thank you. But and I'm not fooling around. I learned a woman's wisdom by living with my 4 girls, and they've been with me every step of the way. And I'm blessed to have 10 grandchildren, and they all live within 10 minutes of us, and that's interesting, really. Now we're streaming everything, go into everything. I thought I was retired. And my wife watches more AAU games with our 4 grandsons playing AAU than I went to when I was a coach. And you know, I think we built a good family with Duke. I know Roy, Dean, and built a good family with them, and because we are good families and we understand the strength of it. And but they would, you know, they've been terrific. My ladies have been the best. And I would like to say, you know, this is especially meaningful for me tonight to have my family with me, but my sister-in-law Pat and my two nieces, Lynette and Therese, and their families. And my brother's not with us. You know, I had an older brother he looked like a Hansborough. No, he's 6'6", 245, and he was a captain in the Chicago Fire Department. And he was my hero. And so in some respects, when we were talking about Bill tonight, it made me feel like somehow we're in Chicago. I was waiting to hear like a fire engine go by or something like that. And I believe in this stuff. I know a lot of you believe in it. I believe he's here. And so it's a really good thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Coach K.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
At this time, we will have the presentation of the Hall of Fame medals. So please welcome back the Hall of Fame class of 2023. The medals will be presented by NABC President Craig Robinson and Kevin Henderson, the CEO of the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame and the College Basketball Experience. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hall of Fame class of 2023. At this time, also, if we could have all the college coaches that are in attendance tonight, please come to the stage to join the class and take a picture. We would appreciate it. Thank you so much. How's it going? Great seeing you. Great to see you. Great job. Great to see you. Thanks. How you doing?
At this time, we'd like to invite all current and Active college coaches up to the stage for a group photograph. Current and past coaches are invited to come to the stage at this time.
If you played basketball at one point in time, if any of you dribbled a basketball, please come to the stage. Get on up there. Jay Billis, you coached. Jay, you coached. We'd like to get a new medal for Tyler Hansbrough.